And now, here's your host, Alessandra Torresani.
John Diggs, coming all the way from Phoenix, as if that's so far from Los Angeles. But
Right.
I'm so excited to learn that you are an LA native, which is
Yes.
quite rare. I like to pretend I'm an LA native, but I moved here from the Bay Area when I was like between 9 and 11. So I feel like I have my
Okay.
core years here. But I
Yeah.
feel like to be born and raised here, I remind my not even 2-year-old, like, this is a big deal. You were born in LA. Like, this is a very rare occasion. This is very special.
Yes.
And now you're in Phoenix. But John, I'm just so excited to get into it with you because someone had sent me an email with your information on it, and I was just so
Mhm.
drawn to reading about Mappineering, and we're going to get all
Yes.
into that. But before we get into
Yes.
what Mappineering is and how you've created this whole mind concept of being the best version of yourself and all this stuff, you were an NFL football player, which was a totally different
Yes.
world. But also, I find when I interview pro athletes, that
Mhm.
the mind, your mental health is the most important thing because you have to be spot on with your mental health in order for your physical health and your actions and for games. I mean, talk about high pressure situations. So, John,
Yeah.
how did you become John Diggs? Like, how did the NFL come together with Mappineering? Like, how does one's mindset get there? Because it's so fascinating to me. I'm not an athlete, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm very excited because as an actor, I know what that's like. But being an athlete, that is like a high intense situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It extremely is. I mean, it's a total different game when, born and raised in LA and
Yeah.
playing high school ball and going to Washington State University, playing football there, go Cougs, you
Yay.
know, um, yeah. Then going to the NFL, it was a major shift mentally because it
Yeah.
was no longer, high school, college, you go to practice.
Sure.
But when you go to the NFL and go to the CFL, it becomes work.
Sure.
So it's a lot more intensity, a lot more expectations, a lot more demand,
Right.
on your performance than at those other levels. And it was a great period.
But can I ask you one question before you going on about
Yeah.
the NFL? Because now this just reminded me with the high school, football, I feel like there's so much pressure on kids. Did you feel the pressure being a high school
Yeah.
athlete, like being like, I need to get into the right college. I need to, in order to become an NFL player, like, was that just so high stakes as well? Like, you remember the show Friday Night Lights, like everyone remembers that. That was, oh
Right.
my gosh.
Right. Yeah. Well, now it's a little different than when it was when I played.
Right.
I was in high school in the 80s. I'm an old dude. So but back then, I truly just played the game just for the fun of the game.
Right.
Just because I just was passionate about the game. It wasn't really strategically trying to make a career out of the
Sure.
game like it is more so now. Now these young minds with these parents that are all engaged
Yeah.
and investing in their kids and all of this kind of stuff. It's more of a heightened awareness around high schoolers now about let me play now to strategically make a career out of this
Right.
than it
Right.
was for me.
Wow.
And for me, it was just the fun. And to be honest with you, Alessandra, that's what really I would say was a letdown for me going to the pros was
Right.
that it no longer became fun. It
Oh,
wasn't just for the fun of the game
right.
anymore. It was
Right.
like business.
Right.
It was like, all these expectations that you have to do certain things if you want to, excel or keep your job.
Sure.
Versus in high school and college, it was like, hey, man, let's just go have fun
Yeah.
and enjoy this game that, we love kind of deal. So that was kind of the letdown. But this mindset of these kids today is quite different than it was for
Mm.
me, to where they are really looking to make more of a career out of it.
Well, I
For
think
me, I was
making,
just like
yeah,
having fun.
totally. And I think it's making more of a career out of it, but I think it's also so scary because I think now, from the 80s to now in 2020s, I guess that's what you call it, the 20s,
Yeah. Right.
is we know so much about young minds, right? And we know so much about
Right.
the, you know, it is what it is, like pun intended, the impact of impacts
Hmm.
on the brain and,
Yep.
what it
Yep.
does to your mental health and all of these, scary things that are happening to kids.
Hmm.
Was that something that you were ever aware of when you were a kid that it's like really fucking dangerous? Like,
No,
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 you were like,
not at all. And my dad was just down last weekend spending some time. He lives up in Sacramento, but he was
okay,
out here in Phoenix. And we were talking about this one time in high school where I actually literally got knocked out
wow,
cold in a football game in high school. And he took me to the hospital right after the game and had concussions and all of that. And I didn't think anything. I was
no,
ready to hurry up and go play again. I didn't
yeah,
think about the long-term ramifications of it. So it wasn't never that. It was just, hey, this is what I love to do. This is what I enjoy doing. Now, as an older dude, looking
yeah,
back at it now and seeing what they're doing in the NFL and all that stuff, I was like, man, you were crazy.
right,
Those guys are
right,
nuts. So,
right.
slamming into each other and the impact and the pain. I do, just so my football career ended because of two screws in my right knee. So
Wow.
I had yeah, busted up my knee in Canada, and yeah, that was basically. Doctor said after the surgery I could go back and play, but if I tweaked it again or hit it again, I probably had to walk with a cane for the rest of my life. So I kind of took that as a hint and a half to just it's time to move on.
That's a sign
Got into the
from
mortgage.
the universe, like, hey,
Yeah,
time to slow down a little bit. But did that
exactly.
feel like for you, was that like, did you have that moment of, well, now what? Because this has been my life for so long.
Yeah, well, it was a definitely identity shift and somewhat
Sure.
of an identity crisis to a certain extent, which is a untold story that I hope ESPN does a 30 for 30 of that, where all of our us athletes that started playing the game at 6, 7, 8, 9 years old.
Sure.
That's your first love, essentially. It's really a
Yeah.
relationship of ups and downs, success, rewards, and all of that stuff, just like a relationship. And when your career's over, it's like a brutal divorce. It's like,
Yeah.
what do I do now? All of my identity was with this game.
Sure.
All of the accolades, all of the praise that I got was because of this game. All of the notoriety was because of this game. And now all of that's gone.
Yeah.
So it really affects a lot of players.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, before I played a down of football, I got my California real estate license. So
Great.
in 91, 92, the last 2 years that the Raiders was in LA, I
Okay.
played for them and I actually had
Wow.
listings. So it wasn't really a big a deal for me to end it because I already had, a plan B, if you will.
Right.
But still, nonetheless, it was very challenging, just to realize that I would never, put my helmet on again and never be in the locker room like that
Well,
again. It was
it's
tough.
so sad for so many people, and you see downfalls of people, going
Some
through
guys can't
money.
recover.
They can't recover. And look, I'm someone that I can never understand fully what that would be like because, like I said, I'm not an athlete. But like as an
Right.
actor, I've had to totally change since having a baby what my career
Hmm.
is, like how people see me, right? And I think that's what it
Yeah.
is. It's how the world sees you. You're an ex NFL athlete. You're an ex NBA, player.
Right.
Whatever it may be. Like, I
Right.
think that as an actor, like that's kind of our new thing. Is like, and as a mom, it's like, what's my new
Hmm.
identity? And it's creating this. And
Yeah.
good for you. I mean, honestly, like kudos to you for having a plan B and something that you could easily
Right.
transition into to make the
Yep.
process easier. But you see so many people not have plans. And it's so wild to me that these big organizations don't have things in place for these guys
Yeah.
and for the
Yep.
girls, who to be like, this is what
Hmm.
you should be doing next so you don't
And I'm
downfall.
and I'm it's funny you say that and that you're spot on with that. And I'm really making some good headway into helping these athletes in
Great.
transition with a project that I'm working on. It's actually called I Am, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Oh, awesome. I was going to ask you about that. You made the transition, then you started doing real estate. And then what was the next step
Yep.
after that?
Well, I was in mortgages. I did everything in mortgages. I opened up a large mortgage brokerage right in Woodland Hills, right up
Amazing.
there on the 101 in Winnetka, the big
Yeah.
White House little building. My office was in there for 8
Oh my
years
God, I've
from
always wondered what
2000.
was in that building. That's so funny.
Yep. I was on the top floor in the corner looking over the freeway.
Oh
I was
my
there for
God.
8 years. I actually owned one of the largest mortgage brokerages in Southern California from 2002 all the way until the meltdown. So
Wow.
I was really rocking and rolling, living this millionaire like lifestyle, wife,
Yeah.
kids, house south of Ventura, cars. I was really doing great. Then
Sure.
the mortgage meltdown hit, and
Yeah.
and I lost literally everything.
Yeah.
I mean, not just my business, not just houses, not just cars. I lost my wife, lost kids. They moved out here to Arizona.
Wow.
It was very, very tough times, and I was basically forced, to go back to my mom's house. Having played in the NFL, made all this money, I was humbled tremendously with
Wow.
having no option but to go to my mom's and actually sleep on the couch that I bought her.
Yeah.
So it was a
Wow.
very
Wow.
tough time.
Yes.
Very, very tough times. But then when I moved back to my mom, and this actually is the beginning of the TEDx talk that I did
Oh
last
wow.
year. I got a TEDx talk that kind of talks about this story,
So
but just briefly.
yeah.
Went to my mom's house, and I had just took with me some gym clothes, my mountain bike, and a big ass box that was full of like motivational tapes,
Wow.
CDs, and stuff that I collected over the years. Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, all of those books, that
Sure.
motivational stuff that I accumulated was all in that box. But since I was, at the rock bottom threshold, I knew I had to go back in that box to figure out
Yeah.
how to rebuild my life. And inside of that box was this book called Mind Mapping by Tony Buzan.
Mm.
Somebody gave it to me somewhere. I never got a chance to just read it. I may have thumb through a couple pages, but this time it really resonated with me. And I decided to actually mind map everything that was in that box. It took me
Wow.
3 months, all day, every day. All I was doing was just mind mapping everything in that box. And that was my first introduction, Alessandra, to the power of mind mapping. Because when most people read books, they just underline and
Sure.
highlight certain things. But what mind mapping does, it causes you to do what is called active learning,
Mm.
meaning I was hunting and looking for keywords and powerful phrases to take from that reading to add to my mind map.
Wow.
And that was causing the information to resonate on a much deeper level than that first read and that first understanding. And it took me 3 months. I mean, I didn't have anything else to do. I couldn't get a job because the
Right.
industry was destroyed.
Right.
Target wouldn't hire me, said I was overqualified. It was just
Wow.
bad. So I was, it was just, so
Wow.
I was going through all of this stuff. And I learned two main things that I think you and your listeners will.
Spring has arrived at Dabble and Dollop, and their shop is full of spring and Easter goodies. Great to give as gifts and decorate your Easter baskets with. Dabble and Dollop is offering Easter egg droplets, aka Dabble and Dollop's version of a bath bomb for kiddos. These coconut, honeydew, and lemon flavored bath bombs provide a fun and delicious treat for bath time. Easter egg bottle toppers for your shampoos and conditioners, which can lead to some fun and imaginative bath time story or playtime. Their Easter bundles, great for ready-made Easter gifts, especially great for little ones who just want something bright and fun as a spring treat. Ladies' favorite so far has been the coconut and honeydew combination. We kind of treat it like a science experiment, and we have been having so much fun during bath time. For all seasons, Dabble and Dollop has everything from bath time shampoos, bubble baths, body washes, conditioner, lotions, and bath bombs to bath toys and accessories to sets that let you try out your favorite products. Visit dabblebath.com/emotional today to get 20% off your first order with us. That's dabblebath.com/emotional and get 20% off for being a listener of Emotional Support.
Understand that life is meant to be loved.
Yeah.
You've got to love life. They all have their different approaches on how to do it. But the ultimate thing they were trying to say is that, man, you need to love the fact that you have life for as long as you're blessed to have it. And here's their strategy or approach to achieve that goal. So that
Yeah.
was really resonating with me, like, all right, cool, I gotta love my life. But then the second point I took from that is that I can actually control or decide what loving my life means.
Mm.
What does it truly mean for me?
Right.
It's different
Right.
from everybody else.
Right.
But
Of
for me,
course.
what does really loving my life means? So I started developing what is known today as this I am mind map. where I just, in a mind map for, people who aren't familiar with
Yeah,
that,
please.
is it's basically a visual information management tool, meaning that anything you are thinking about in your head, you're trying to make a decision, you're trying to problem solve, you're trying to set goals, even if you're trying to deal with stuff in your past, anything that's swirling in your mind,
Mhm.
mind map is a constructive way to actually put it out in paper, if you will, in a map form, so you can now see what you're thinking about
Right.
or see what you're contemplating, which gives you greater perspective, which gives you more empowering to answer the problem, solve better,
Yep.
come up with decisions easier, because now it's not just swirling in here. Now you can actually see all of the components of whatever it is you got to think about.
Well, it's a visualization. It's so key.
It's
It's so key.
it's a visual tool. It's a
Yeah.
visual tool. So with my I am mind map, what I did in a circle in the middle of this page and poster board, I put in the middle I am and drew a circle around it. Then I started to
Wow.
ask myself, important questions.
Sure.
What is most important to me in my life? In about 3 months' time, I just started, grappling with all of these thoughts, and I came up with that. What's most important to me is my health. Nothing more important than health.
No.
I've had money, but what's most health is most important. So I put that on my mind map. Then I said, well, what else is most important? If I can have anything in the world, what else is most important? I said, well, I would like to have an abundance of stuff, wealth. Yeah, I want
Sure.
wealth, but is it truly just money? Then I realized, no, I would like an abundance of positive emotions. I would like an abundance of skills, because I know if
Yeah.
I have the right skills, I will get money.
Yeah.
And I also
Yeah.
wanted freedom. Then I went over to what else do I want out of that? I said, I want success. Would love to experience success in relationships and results and rewards. Then I definitely want to be happy. So my I
Yeah.
am mind map, it basically had I am in the middle, then it had health, wealth, success, and happiness. And I started brainstorming each one of those 4 subtopics to really get clear on what it means to me. And it empowered me in such a way, Alessandra, that within 9 months of being broke and homeless at my mom's house, I landed $170,000 gig,
Wow.
annual contract. Yeah, because I was also a software developer, and this one of my
You
old
had so
loan
many
officers
skills,
went to the.
John. You have so many, but like at that moment, it's like that's crazy.
Yeah. So the guy went to one of my old loan officers went to this company. They just bought this software, didn't know what to do with it. He knew I knew mortgages and software, so I landed this job, and
Wow.
and life just changed immediately. But I
Just like
know
that.
I would not have landed that job had I not been very clear on who I am and
Right.
what I wanted with my life. Because I walked into that, that I like to say audition or interview,
Yeah, it is.
that with so much confidence and
Sure.
congruity that I know that, that would cause me to land that job.
Well, and I think a lot of people, always think like when you do the mind mapping and you do, the visualization, if you just go, oh, I want to be rich and famous, right? It doesn't happen like that. You have to
Yeah.
be so specific, like you're
Clear,
saying, so clear, so
clear.
specific with what your
Yep.
intention is, what your goal is, and not just
Right.
I want money and I want fame. You
Right.
have
And
to
that
say what it
clarity,
is. Yeah.
yeah. And this is what I teach my students now and my clients now, is that when you do this I am process, the next step is to, now that you have a clarity on it, is to now start to visualize it, dream about it, imagine it, all day, every day, law of
Yeah.
attraction, kind
Yes.
of stuff, where you start to now visualize it, which is going to increase this experience now. So that's what I teach a lot of people now with this I am process, because I find that a lot of people, they don't really, they haven't, if you ask them who they are, it's
Right.
an immediate surface thing. It's the
Yes.
title. What's on their business card? I'm a parent. I'm this. I'm that. I'm this. I'm that. I'm that. But it really get to that deep level structure where the true meaning happens.
Right.
Most people never go that deep.
No.
So therefore they're always chasing the shiny object. Therefore they're don't know how to make decisions, don't know how to manage their emotions, don't know how to
Right.
do a lot of things, because they haven't really got clear on who they actually
Sure.
are. So that's what I've been really proud of this I am process, because I've been seeing breakthroughs with people, just because they're like, wow, I've never really saw the key
Mm.
components of my life like this, you know, and areas that I may need to give more attention to, or
Sure.
areas that, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's been great. But since that point, this was 2010. I went on to develop one of the top mortgage software development
Wow.
companies in the country, where I built the infrastructure for mortgage banks, over 100 mortgage banks throughout my career. And
Wow.
it's all because of this mind mapping
Yeah.
stuff. You know, this mind mapping gave me such clarity and power. But then when COVID hit in 2020 and we were all quarantined, that's when I decided, you know what? Now that I'm here, let me start writing books and start sharing with the world this powerful
Your
tool called mind
knowledge.
mapping. Yeah, this mind mapping stuff. So since like COVID, I just been on this mad mission. I wrote 9 books. I got
Wow.
like,
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
I can't even sit down
yeah,
and
I've been
write
busy.
one. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've been busy. Then I got a bunch of online courses. I got an online community now that's thriving, that's internationally thriving. Because mind mapping worldwide, just as a historical context of
Yeah.
mind mapping, it was an English, British educator by the name of Tony Buzan back in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, was working with his students and was trying to find ways to help them learn better.
Right.
So he started analyzing the notes of Edison, Einstein, you know, all of the sharp
Wow.
people. And he realized
Sure.
that most of their notes were all with symbols, keywords. It wasn't that linear stuff that we were
Mm-mm.
taught in school. It was
Mm-mm.
all of these visual components. So that was like the foundation of how he created mind mapping. Then he went on to write a bunch of books and did a lot of work with mind mapping in Europe, not so much in the US.
Yeah.
And he unfortunately died in 2018. So it's been kind of like this
Mm.
empty void, if you will, on the
Right.
promotion or the development of this tool in our country. And those Fortune 500, well, I did some research that almost all Fortune 500 companies are using mind mapping
Wow.
for brainstorming and project management.
Sure.
And Ivy League schools are now using mind mapping for their students because they're realizing that kids are getting better test scores because when they note take in a mind map, it's easier for them to visualize where that information is on the map to answer that question versus
So
that line
fascinating.
point
Yeah.
of stuff. So my style, where this Mappineering comes in, this word
Yeah.
Mappineering, from what I understand in the world, I'm the only one that's using mind mapping as a personal development tool.
Wow.
Most people that have ever heard of mind mapping, they only use it for like note taking, project management, and
Sure.
brainstorming kind of stuff.
Sure.
But I use it for like, you know, decision making, problem solving, you
For
know,
life.
self
Yeah.
awareness. Yeah, it's a lot more life
Yeah.
practicality. So I wanted to kind of create a nuance so people would know that the difference between mind mapping, you know, what I'm teaching and promoting is not that.
Right.
Mine is more for internal purposes on
Right.
who you are
Right.
versus more of a business thing. That's where the phrase Mappineering comes from. It's just my style of mind mapping, if you will.
Oh, I love that.
It's just-
And I'm sure it's something that you can even do when it comes to, you know, I have a lot of people in my life that have come on the show and are, you know, looking to find love or matchmakers or, you know,
Mhm,
stuff like
mhm.
that. And I feel like this is something that you can be so specific of the kind of person
Yeah,
that you want to attract, the kind of person,
right.
you know, it's almost like a science experiment that you can be like,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
what I
yeah,
want, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's better than just being like, I want someone that's hot and successful and drives a
Right,
Ferrari, you know. It's an
right. I
it's
don't care
an
if he can't read or talk, but
right, exactly. Maybe not talking, but it's so true. You know what I mean? Where I feel like
Mhm,
this would
mhm.
be a great way for them to use things in everyday
It
life,
is.
including love.
It is. I have a example of that. You know, my sister, by the way, in all disclosure, she's been an actress in Hollywood since early 90s.
Wow.
Her name is Portia Coleman. So I don't know if you ever
Okay.
heard of this team. Yeah, but she's been acting. She's actually in New York filming some Christmas movie right now.
Oh my
But
gosh, how
her and
fun.
I was recently talking about some things, and had to ask her because she was kind of ranting a little bit about all of the things she doesn't want in a man.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I don't want this. I don't want him to do this, and this. And I was like, well, wait a minute. You know, well, what do you want in a man?
Sure.
And he was like, and I was like, well, I mean, sit back and listen to what you
Yeah.
just said. You're more clear on what you don't want than versus what you do want. So what do you think
Sure.
you're attracting?
Yes.
You're attracting all of the dudes you don't want.
Yes.
So let's let's go through this mind map process and let's figure out details of all of the guys that, what you do want in a man.
Right.
Yeah, so we went through all of that, but then we took it to the next step, which was very enlightening for her, is that after she mind mapped all of that out and saw her perfect guy, and I said, now, what kind of woman do you think that man would want?
Wow.
Let's map that out.
Right. Right.
Let's map that out. So we kind of mapped all of that kind of stuff out, and now it was kind of an aha moment for her,
Wow.
to where she was like, well, wait a minute, maybe I should focus on myself being that person that kind of guy would want, versus not focusing on myself and hoping to find that guy.
Yes.
So it was an aha moment for her. But to your point, this
Yeah.
mind mapping could be a very powerful tool for people to get clear on love. Anything you got to think about. I mean, literally, Alessandra, anything you got to think about, it's great to get it out of here,
Yeah.
get it out there. And so you can start kind of looking at it, to get better direction.
Is this something that you've been teaching your kids as well? Like, is it a tool that you find? I don't know how old your kids are, but I mean, I feel like this is something my husband does a lot with our daughters. He's a firm believer in visualization and in,
It's
you
big.
know, yeah, in doing all kinds of things that you possibly can to bring things into you, right? Into your
Yep.
being, if you will.
Yep.
So is this something that you taught your kids? Is this how would
A-
be the best thing
Absolutely.
for a parent to approach this kind of, skill
Yeah.
set that can help so many young ones?
Absolutely. I have my I have 3 girls,
Oh,
26, yeah, 26, 18 and 15.
oh my
And
gosh.
yeah. I'm a girl dad.
So
It's so funny. My dad was saying, son, you would have had a son if you would have did it with your socks off.
yeah.
I was like,
Wait, that's really funny.
I laughed with him. I was like, well, Dad, who has time to take socks
Who
off?
has time to take socks off, sir?
You
Come
gotta
on.
check when it.
Yeah, come on, sir. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Girls
Oh,
are
it's
the
so funny. But
best.
yeah,
Girls are the best.
but to your point, I've had my girls do book reports. They now note take. I actually was paying them $25 just to do book reports
Wow.
and book reviews for me, where they would put the title of the book in the center,
Yeah.
and each one of the subtopics were the chapters of the book, and they would
Wow.
go through and just highlight, find keywords of each one of those chapters. Now, and their grades just soared now, because of that. So I would start, with parents to introduce it with kids, start with one of their favorite books,
Yeah.
and just put the title of it in the middle and just each chapter around there. And just, you guys find just keywords and phrases of each one of those chapters. And it's amazing because when it's time to
Mm.
review that book, it's better to look at that mind map of what you put there versus trying to thumb through the book of,
Sure.
all of that kind of stuff. So it's been really cool. And also problem solving. That's the
Yeah.
big thing that I'm finding with my clients now and my kids. When they're dealing with a problem, we mind map it.
Right.
Hey, come on, let's get over here. What is the nature of the problem? We put the title of the problem here. Then I do what I call is the 5 W's and H, where who, what, when, where, why, and how that problem. So we'll brainstorm,
Wow.
right? Who's involved with this problem? Who shouldn't be involved in this problem? Who could be involved in this problem? Who should be involved? So we start going all through this who, what, and where, and whys. It's amazing how this process of getting out of here and putting
Yeah.
it out there for them, how it
Yeah.
lessens the emotion and the stress that problem was initially causing.
Sure.
Because now it's no longer in here. It's no longer just a festering issue. Now it's out
100%.
here now. So it's like they're looking at it like a third person, almost like they're in a movie now.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
sitting in the audience watching it out there versus being in the lead character of the
Yeah.
problem. Now they're watching it out here, which lessens the stress
Right.
and opens their mind up to find a solution,
Right.
and
Because I feel like that happens so much, like I mean, just in general, like with mental health and anxiety and stress, like not even into the specifics and things that might be, issues for people, but
Mhm.
just the general stress of a day, it can
Right.
be so burdening. And if you don't have tools to release that stress and get it off your shoulder, it's going to ruminate. It's
You're
never going to go away. It's going to pester. It's going to keep getting
Bester.
worse and worse and worse until
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
completely frozen and you cannot,
Right.
get out of it. And I think
Or
that
have
that's a
health
lot of,
issues.
or have health issues, like, and other problems
Mhm.
come, arise. And I think that that is a huge, huge, huge issue for all of us, including myself, where
Yep.
I will literally think about one thing and I will not be able to let it go for years. Instead of, hey,
Yeah.
maybe I should just write this down. I should mind map
Yeah.
it,
Map
and
it
then
out.
it'll be like clear it out, and I'm gonna find such relief and such happiness.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And one of my mentors told me years ago, he said, John, our brains is meant for processing, not storage.
Wow.
And so many people, like a computer, he was like, if you have a computer that is full of storage,
Sure.
has no more storage, because you got so many files on that computer, it doesn't process.
No.
It's
No, it's
slow with
slow.
processing. Yeah, so you got to get that information, out of your mind so you can process at a high level. And mind mapping is the way to just take it out of here and almost like put it in the cloud or put it in
Sure.
the drive or put it on a
Sure.
flash disk or whatever that is. Because now you don't have to keep it here. Now it's out there, which improves people's processing,
Yeah.
of information, decision making, whatever they're dealing with. They can think a lot faster because it's not having to sift through a bunch of stuff that you're keeping in your mind. But I encourage you, anytime you get challenged, just grab a piece of paper, draw a circle on it, and just start dumping all of that stuff out of your
Yeah.
head into, you don't have to worry about the structure of it. You don't have to overanalyze what you're putting on there. Just anything that flashes in your mind about whatever you're dealing with, get it out of here and just put it in a paper form. Then once you see all of those components, now you're going to start to see connections between certain things. You
Sure.
might be like, all right, I put it over here, but it really belongs down over here next to this model. Then instead of this, this really wasn't that big of an issue. Let me put it here. So as you start working through this process of whatever it is you're vexating about or
Right.
having issues with, you start to kind of put the puzzle together and realize, well, wait a minute,
It's
here's
kind
the
of like,
solution.
and it's kind of like spring cleaning of the mind.
There it is. There,
Here's your tagline. But I mean,
there
it
it
is.
is.
It's like I'm currently in the middle of spring cleaning, I would say.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
which I never do, so I'm like really mad at myself. But this is like what it's like. It's like cleaning up the mind. It's freshening up so you could be the
Yep,
best version of yourself. And now,
exactly.
here's my real question: do you have papers just like all over the house?
No, because that was when I first started. It was what 2010. Since then,
Right.
I use it, there's a online software now that's one of the best in the world that I'm
Wow.
actually a partner with out of Vienna, Austria. It's
Okay.
called MindMeister, to where all of my mind maps are now digitally, where I can mind map on my phone. I can, all over the place.
Can anyone
So
use
yeah,
the
all
software?
yeah. It's
What's it
it's
called?
you get like through it's MindMeister,
Okay, cool.
mindmeister.com. And if you put the Digit code in there, you get like a 10% discount. And it's
Cool.
only like $6 a month for
Yeah.
unlimited mind map.
Wow.
Unlimited mind maps. They got YouTube tutorials, and I do a lot of training in this inside of my community, where I show a lot of people how to just simply hey, man, you got an issue. If you can't grab a pen or a paper, or jump on your phone. Let me show
Right.
you how to just sort through your decision. Whether it could be something as simple as where you're gonna go eat. It could be a whole just stuff.
Right. It doesn't have to be this big existential crisis. And I think that that's what people need to
Mm-mm.
know, that it can be something so simple that can really just freshen up your whole brain
Yeah.
and make things so much easier. So what's the next step for John Diggs now? Now that you have this, you have your community, and what's next?
Yeah, Yeah, Mappineerville is growing fast. I just found some people on there just yesterday. That was
Wow.
one from Kenya and another one from India actually joined my community.
Wow.
So it's starting to go international. But what I'm really most excited about, I'm glad you asked, is this.
Yeah.
I'm really focusing on higher education and impacting students with this tool. So I just released two books. One last year called Mappineer Your College Years: How to Crush College with Mind Maps,
Wow.
showing students how to use mind maps effectively there. The one I'm really passionate about now is called Big Play Power, where I'm showing football players, young football players, how to map out the biggest play they can make in the game of football. What is the
Wow.
best play that you can ever make? No, most people that play the game never really think about what is truly the biggest play you can ever make playing
Sure.
this game. So I helped them get clear with that. Then through my book and mini course, I have a 5-week course where I'm leading these
Oh,
student
wow.
athletes through, where I'm walking them through how to have the best game, how to have the best season,
Mm,
how to have the best career, how to have the best academic year, and how to
sure.
just be the best that they can be. And there's like 18 mind mapping exercises that
Wow.
I walk them through to just really empower them
Yeah.
to use their visual component, but
Sure.
also make conscious choices, versus being influenced by society and role models and all of that.
Yeah.
They're physically making conscious choices on this is what they want to be
For
in their
themselves.
lives. And
Right.
it's been really powerful because it's been helping them establish borders,
Mm,
boundaries, to know that, hey, this is who I intend to be, so I can't take this drug, or I can't
yeah.
do these things,
Yeah.
because that's not on my mind map. I can't participate in this kind of relationship or this, that, and the other, because I'm very clear on what I'm trying to achieve in my life. So
Sure.
so it's been getting that's really, really been exciting for me. It's called Big Play Power. And it's been really thrilling to see these young athletes transform their lives
Yeah.
with this empowerment of like, hey, I'm not just playing the game, just for the fun of it, but I know that I can consciously control
Hmm.
the outcome of my career and post career kind of
Sure.
stuff. So that's been really exciting for me. And now it's just about just sharing the message. I'm just trying to just share the message with wonderful people like you. And because
Yeah.
because people like you, I'm finding very powerful, dynamic people that could use a tool like this to even take their game to another level.
A
You know what
hundred
I mean?
percent. Like I immediately. That's why I was so excited because to have this interview is because I talk about it a lot on the podcast that after I had my baby, I had a lot of
Mhm.
postpartum anxiety and I live with
Yeah.
bipolar 1 disorder, so that always, comes into play. But for me, I've had this whole identity crisis of like, who am I? I
Mhm.
am a
Yeah.
mom, but I still feel like my old self sometimes, but I don't feel like my old self. Who am I as a career woman? Like as a, I have
Mm.
this podcast, but I'm also an actress and I've also been on cool, awesome shows. But playing like the college kid or playing this, playing that, and that's not me anymore, but I still identify as that person. So I was so
Right.
excited what Mappineering was, so I could sit
Mhm.
down and I could do this myself to kind of figure out,
Yep.
okay, what's my game plan? What's my game plan
Yeah.
of how I'm going to be a mom, how I'm going to be a wife, how I'm going to be an actress, how I'm going to be
Mhm.
a daughter, to my mom, and figuring that out. So I think that this is such an important tool that is universal for whomever you may be, whatever walk of
E
life, whatever. It's
exactly.
for all of us.
Yeah, and I would love to work with you.
Yeah.
When we conclude, let me yeah, work with you and get you this I am mini course. I
Yeah.
think you would like to just go through that and start outlining your own mini course, and that would just be something I would want to give to you
Oh,
for
that's
having
so
me on your
sweet.
show.
I would love
And
to do that. That's so cool.
hopefully, you get the breakthrough results that others are getting, and just be
Sure.
a testimony, for the
Yeah. Oh,
power of
100%.
Mappineering and all of that. So yeah, so let's be sure and
Oh,
do that.
yeah.
Now
We're
I
going to
would
do
love
that.
to support you and help you in every way, just
Oh,
as a thank you for be willing to have your willingness to have this conversation.
Well, I think that
Thank you.
these conversations are so important, and I think that people
Yes.
need to, we can talk about all the problems that we have, we can talk about all the issues, but we need to
Hmm.
provide solutions for people, because
Right.
otherwise
Right.
you're just like how you were talking about your sister, all the things that she didn't want in a guy, right? That's putting out
Right.
so much negativity. And I'm not someone that
Hmm.
believes in oversaturated happiness all the time, but I do believe that you have
Right.
to have tools, and you have to have a big toolbox, and whatever you feel
Yeah.
that day you need to be able to pull out and use. So I think that's so awesome. John, I'm going to ask you my final question that I ask everyone.
Yes.
What is your emotional support?
Define emotional support for me.
Oh, it could be whatever you want it to be. It could be emotional support. Some people, it's their family members, it's dogs. Some people, it's themselves. Some people, it's yoga or going out on the day. It could be a beer, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I have quite a few actually
You
because
can have a bunch.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. I have a few of those. Naturally, my kids,
Yeah.
are
Of
always
course.
resets me and give me my passion to live. And know my why, if you will, and why
Yeah.
I do the things that I do.
Sure.
But again, a lot of my emotional support is just my clarity of I'm always on my I am mind map. I still look at it every day. I still evolve it just to get it clear on what and who I intend to be in this
Yeah.
life. And that always, I've been challenged. This last year has been very challenging with one of my kids, my oldest daughter, and I have been having some very, very challenging time that we're going through right now.
Sure.
And what helps me balance that emotion is just reflecting on who I intend to be.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
my I am mind map is really serving as like my constitution,
Yep.
my commandments, my compass, my GPS, my playbook for life, my
Sure.
my script, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah, it
So
is.
anytime I'm having a problem in a scene in my life, I know I can go back to the script, that put me right
Right.
back where I need to be to help me balance whatever emotional twist and turn that I'm dealing with right
Right.
now. So I guess that's what I would say. And
I
by
love
way of
that.
that, that referencing that I am I meant there a lot of activities that
Uh-huh.
have illuminated that I should do, like deep breathing,
Yeah.
yoga, physical conditioning.
Right.
Those things have materialized on my mind map because as I'm analyzing it, I'm asking, okay, well, this is a spiritual component here. So what can I focus on
Sure.
spiritually now? And is it fasting? Is it, whatever I need to do on that component? So that really, I would say, is probably the biggest emotional support that I have is
Oh, I
just being
love
able
that.
to reference, my I am mind map to get clear on my purpose in life,
Yeah.
and alignment with my spiritual side of me to make sure that I'm not falling apart or
Yeah.
causing myself to stress more than necessary,
Sure.
which
Sure.
unfortunately a lot of people do.
Yeah. No, a
um
lot of people
so
do,
yeah.
but I think that's so amazing. Thank you. That was a great answer. No answer is a bad
Thank
answer, but that was a great one. uh, but I
you.
feel
Thank
like
you.
I love this I am, and anyone can kind of adopt that. And I think that that's what's so special. That you're helping so many people, and you truly are. You truly are. Even if
Yeah.
I always say it's so
Thank you.
cheesy. Even if you could help one person, I think it's worth doing something, because it's the impact of
It is.
that one person then could help someone else, who then could help someone else, and it's a
It is.
domino effect. And I think that
And it feels so good to help people, right?
it does.
you
And
know
and I think that the universe, you know, I am a firm believer in the universe blesses you, when you help others. And it may not
yep.
seem that way,
There.
because I think some people who are just bad people have luck. But in
Right.
the long scheme of things, I think helping is the best way to go. So thank you so much,
It is.
John, for coming on Emotional Support. I will have all the
Thank you.
links to your courses and to your book and to your website and everything in the link in bio, in the show notes, everyone. So thank you so much.